So there's a question I get asked a lot from men, and that is, and women too. But they ask me a lot, how do I know if I'm making progress? And that's not just like with pornography, that's with anything in life. They come in and they want to know, what does progress even look like? And sometimes we have a very one track mind with progress, and we have this ideal that we're searching for, and if we're just looking for any bit of improvement that says we're getting there, and that's okay. But when you're really trying to break a habit, when you're trying to break through on something, you have to be, I think, a little bit more intelligent about how you actually measure some of that progress. Because if you don't, I think we become discouraged very easily. We become disenfranchised with what we're trying to do, and ultimately, it's really easy to not look at the wins that we've had and the progress that we've made. There are these three words that I love to teach, and they are frequency, intensity, and duration. Okay, frequency, intensity, and duration. Wherever you're at right now, just think of something you've been trying to work on for a long time in your life. With this thing that I have been trying to break through on and make progress with, have you ever looked at it and said, okay, how is the frequency of this thing changing? Just ask yourself that. Number two, is the intensity of this thing changing? Right? And is the duration of it changing? So the frequency obviously is how repeatedly it's happening. Right? It's how frequently is this happening? Say you really struggle with anger. Well, okay, if anger is your issue and these angry outbursts, well, maybe frequency, hopefully the frequency can start to get better. But sometimes the intensity and even the duration, so the intensity of how intense that anger is, sometimes it doesn't change. And sometimes the duration of how long that lasts doesn't change, but the frequency does. But if you're like most guys, like me even, you'll see the frequency happen again, even though maybe it's been like 2 or 3 weeks since the last explosion that you had. And before that, it was almost every other day or every 2 or 3 days. But the fact is that it happened again, and you're so mad and so now pissed off at yourself that even though you made significant progress in frequency, your brain doesn't pick up on it at all. You're just mad that it happened again. And so what do? You go into yourself, right? And you start speaking all sorts of crap to yourself. You beat yourself up. And ultimately, you deconvince yourself and just kind of give up and tap into hopelessness sometimes, to where then now your momentum is broken. It's really stopped. When if you had come to me, or if you'd come to somebody with more, I would say, a greater outside perspective, they could have said, hey man, stop, slow down. Like, hold on. It's been 2 or 3 weeks since your last outburst. And I know you're not happy about how intense it was. And I know you're not happy about how the duration that it took and how long it lasted. But hey, like, the frequency is changing. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, if you're trying to make changes in your life, dude, you have to be able to give yourself permission to have joy in the smaller wins. If you're only waiting for the bigger wins, like, they don't happen that often. It's like baseball. I love baseball. If you're only happy when you hit a home run, I mean, the best big leaguers, man, they hit, 60, 50 home runs, but like most people are hitting like 20 to 30. And that's like a good season. And there's just like hundreds of at-bats, and they hit 20 or 30. Okay, but what about all the other good things they do during the game? You have to be able to focus on those. Okay, so obviously we can go into it again, take away frequency, and say, okay, the frequency keeps happening, but the intensity is coming down. Well, in anger especially, that's a big deal. So sure, every 2 or 3 days it might be happening, but if the intensity is beginning to come down, but maybe the duration stays the same, again, could you be okay with that? If you are a woman listening to this podcast, in the same way, if you're listening, if your man's working on something, can you be okay with that? Could you actually help in that same way with him to say, hey, listen, the intensity is coming down. I've noticed a pattern that the intensity is getting better. What I love about that too, especially when intensity goes away or when it begins to decrease, I love being able to ask yourself, why? Like, what is it that's changed in me that's made the difference? Maybe it's a new knowledge that you created or that you found, maybe a new principle. Maybe it's something inside of you that you forgave about yourself that really helped the intensity. Oftentimes it's just a new perspective I've learned with intensity that really, really helps it. kind of to go back to frequency, because I already talked in this, but I think that something that really helps frequency is accountability. So when you begin to track, I mean, tracking all three of these is great, but I think with frequency especially, if you give yourself permission and to find somebody else to be accountable to about your frequency, that you know that each time you do something, you're going to have to talk about it and open up about it. That to me is what it helps to track behavior. And we do know that when behavior is tracked, it begins to change. So in my life and in the lives of those that I help, that's been a huge thing, is when they finally open up and stop going at their problem by themselves. So it helps take away shame too. When that person that you talk to is a very open and awesome person, then it helps to increase your compassion for yourself too. So okay, so last one, right, is duration now. So again, maybe it's anger that you're dealing with, and you've got the frequency is getting, maybe it's not really changing a whole lot. Maybe the intensity is not changing, but boy, the duration is. And that ability to stop yourself. So one of the things that's helped a ton with duration is self-awareness. I like listening to podcasts. I hope you're listening to this, and it can help you actually increase your awareness of the fact that there is a duration. For some guys, when I teach this, this is the first time they've ever put on the lenses, if you will, or put on and had this perspective that everything they're working on actually could be seen from at least these three areas, if not more areas. I just love these three. And when a guy can actually realize, man, if I could change my duration, right? If I could begin to shift the duration and get through this quicker, that might change a lot of things. So in relationship research, we have this amazing principle called repair. So if you have a couple who are working together, let's say in my office, one thing that's a really good measure for me to look at is not how defensive they are. I mean, that is good to see, but if they're defensive, or if somebody attacks one another or criticizes, the measure of repair says how quickly does that person see it and see that they just went into the wrong direction, and are able to step back and say, hey, hold on, sorry, I didn't mean to say it that way. I didn't mean to put off such a nasty vibe, if you will, or to put off such defensiveness. And so as quickly as they can repair it, it's going to help a ton. So I think with men, when you're trying to work on something, the quicker that you can obviously see the beginnings of your pattern, or beginnings of whatever this is you're doing, say in this case, anger, if duration is a goal of yours, then as quickly as you can begin to repair and stop, or I should say the other way, stop and repair. And that means account for yourself, get apologetic in a healthy way, not in a fake way. And you'll see a lot of change happening. I think that all three of these are really powerful when they begin to work together. Obviously, that's ideal when somebody starts to see a lot of change happening that way, where, boy, when I look back, again, we want to measure backwards and look back to where we started. Can I actually begin to see that the frequency and intensity and duration is changing when it comes to overcoming pornography and lust, especially, right? These three measures are so important and are a way to stay compassionate with yourself, because again, to go from, most guys are saying, okay, I'm going to resist this, and then I just got to stop, then they relapse again, then I got to stop it again. And it's such a black and white natured way of trying to overcome such a difficult thing. The same way with sugar. Like if you were addicted to sugar, I mean, you could go cold turkey. Good luck with that. Like you might, but being able to say, okay, is the frequency that I'm eating it going down? How about the intensity of it, right? How much I'm eating, if you will. And the duration, like how long I'm binging, or even when I'm binging. If you begin to use all three of these in a smaller way, you could really help yourself out a lot, because you could set some really specific focuses, if you will, especially again, if it was an addiction, you could really set some specific focuses that could help you to say, okay, if I were to approach this way, what would be one of the simplest ways I could decrease the intensity, decrease the duration, etc. And then the frequency, obviously changing that. So, is this the end all be all? No. Like in my program, you're going to get an amazing process that'll help you step by step by step to be educated, to really learn a lot of things. But in life, when it comes to any other things we're working with, I promise frequency, intensity, and duration are simply so much better. Now, I want to shift gears real quick and give you, I guess, just kind of the thought of the week for me. I had a really simple and interesting conversation with someone. I hadn't spoken to them in quite a while, and they jumped on and they were immediately in a state of word vomit. And I say it in a very good way. A lot of people apologize to me about word vomiting when they shouldn't, because when they begin to word vomit and when you begin to word vomit, to me, it is a beautiful sign of how much you've needed to be heard and how much you've needed to be listened to and how much stuff is inside of you that has got to get out. So anybody who listens to other people, please never stop them from vomiting. Sometimes it might not make any sense to you who's listening, but they need to get it out. Okay, and this person said the most beautiful thing. It's so simple, but he said, "Gee, Shayden, I had no idea so much was in me until I started to speak it." Gee, Shayden, I had no idea so much was in me until I started to speak it. And I wrote it down in my journal as just a simple line that makes so much sense and is the reality of every human being and the men that I work with, that we are human as it gets. And our internal world right now, it is so easy to become dark. It is so easy to be filled with doubt, to be filled with shame, to be filled with insecurity, to feel weak, to feel powerless. And all of that takes a toll, because in those emotions comes a powerful recipe of disastrous thinking a lot of the time. Thinking that really destroys hope, destroys your confidence and ultimately kind of your soul, to where your ability to be courageous and get up and act and do the things you need to do begin to dwindle and stop. And if that's the case for you, you have to begin to push yourself to speak. If you don't have anybody to open up to, then obviously come here or find somebody that is, maybe if you even have to pay them, like, that's not a shameful thing. But the hope is you can find someone who can sit with you and hold space for you. If you're listening to this, I want to push you to be that person. Be the person that holds space for somebody else, especially other men, right? Men have their families, they have their wife, but oftentimes they need their tribe. They need a group of other men who can hold that space for them. I'm so blessed to have that. And I have beautiful men in my life who can deal with me and can take what I think is more heavy than they can handle, but they can deal with it. And I promise you, most people can deal and can carry what it is you're dealing with. Now, you might be saying to me, Shayden, you don't know me, like you don't know my life. I wish so bad that was my life. And I'm not going to argue back, okay? Because if that is the case for you, I truly am. I'm sorry. I would wish that loneliness upon nobody. To be in a world with billions of people and to feel that lonely is no fun at all. And so just know, please, that I'm here. Other people are here for you as well. Don't ever give up. Don't end it. Do not end your life. Seek help, and you can get it. But also, again, I think that we become often what we give, and we often receive what we give. And so when we choose to give space and to be the listener, we often attract other people that can actually listen to us as well. Thanks for listening today, and we'll see you on the next one.